Hello, what's going on? It's Doug Cunnington here, and we're coming at you early for the weekly live stream. I have some other stuff to do tomorrow, so I'm unable to have the normal time. So I was like, hey, I got time this morning, Monday morning, June the 13th. So I decided to just schedule it and get out there. So let me know if you could hear me out there in the chat. I did this so last minute that I didn't even send out an email to the people that subscribe to do that, because like I scheduled it and we're starting like so quick. So it's going to be a small, intimate crew today. It's going to be quiet. I'll tell a few stories. I'll answer questions if you have any. But it may be more of a monologue. I think, like I said, there's only a handful of people in here. And I thought for a second, I was like, maybe I could hop in. I actually maybe can hop over to my email provider and just say, hey, I'm doing it live right now. So heads up. So may check that out. And there could be a normal flow of people popping on here, but we can go ahead and start with a few stories. I could just tell you what I did over the weekend, which is, of course, unrelated to the topic of affiliate marketing or anything website related. You know what? I am going to shoot an email over to the people that signed up for the live stream notifications, because that is what it's there for. So I see a couple people are in the chat. Let me get this going. Oh yeah, we got the crew. Furman, we got Deepak, Zach, Derek, Sam's here, Jason's on. What's up? Yeah, so we got the normal crew. And the cool part with the notification is you can sign up for that yourself right now. There's only a handful of people. It looks like 68 people are on that little sub list, and you can just go sign up. There's a link in the show notes there. I do want to give a shout out to Otis, Global, ODYS, the source for premium age domains with strong branding and powerful backlinks. And I'll play an ad from them in a minute. What should the subject line be? Like, I am live now, 1 day early. Okay. And then I'll leave it pretty simple here. And I know it's not fun to watch me talk about sending an email. You can't even watch it live, but I'll say I'm live on YouTube right now. Yeah, we'll just keep it simple here. I'm live on. There's probably a typo. You know how it goes. Israel's on and Godfrey as well. And go ahead and start asking questions. I will hop over there. I did promise I'd tell some stories, which I will do that right after I send this email. The other sponsor is Ezoic. So I'll put on the hat. You can check out their product Leap, which will help your website load faster and get green in core web vitals. There's no page view minimums over there at Ezoic, so you can check it out. They have a great blog too, so if you haven't read their blog, I encourage you to do so. And yeah, I've been working with Ezoic for a couple years, and they are instrumental in the case study that I'm doing with niche website builders, publishing 200,000 words of content over the course of about 4 months. So yeah, thanks to Ezoic, and they are how I am monetizing that particular site. Okay, I'll send this now. Boom. All right, I think we're in good shape. So over the weekend, it was extremely warm. It was really hot here in the Denver area, and the thing is, it's June. It's the middle of the summer. It does get hot, but basically, it was about 100 or 101, so pretty toasty. Even with the dry heat, it's pretty intense. And we went to the Filipino Culture Festival. It was it was a pretty decent sized event in a small-ish venue. But yeah, I was going to say I got this new tattoo, which is the Filipino flag. I'm half Filipino. And I was like, oh, this is like perfect timing. So got to have some good food, got some chicken adobo, pancit, rice, some lumpia, halo halo for the other people that know Filipino food. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. And I forget the name of this other thing that we had. It was a dessert. It was sweet rice, which was deep fried. And that was delicious. It's kind of like a pastry. Really good. Really good. So anyway, we went out there and it was toasty. It worked out well for the scheduling though. So we went out on, Saturday during the day and then got back home and yeah. So got a couple questions coming in here. Keep them coming. I'll hop over in a second and start answering those. And the other thing, earlier that day, I helped a buddy move a little bit. I helped him load a truck. So I guess he needed an extra hand or two hands, I guess. So I drove down, helped him out for about an hour or so and was able to head back. So I didn't like go to the new house and unload. I just helped load some stuff up, save them a little bit of time. There were 4 of us total, so it is good to work in pairs. So any large pieces of furniture, you can just move that stuff around. And I haven't, back in the day when you're younger, you like invite a bunch of people over. They get you to, help you pack up a little bit. Hopefully it's already in boxes. Load up the truck, unload pizza and beer, and that's how you pay them back. But now that we're older, we've like paid for movers the last couple of times. Now, when we moved to this particular house, what did we do? We didn't have any huge pieces that we needed help with. Now I'm trying to remember because I have a truck and you're able to load most of the stuff. And now I'm trying to remember. I think I rented a truck. I'll have to ask my wife. I could barely remember. I think we rented a truck and then hired a couple people I remember now. We actually hired a moving company. We had everything packed already. So they just, they brought their truck over, they loaded everything up, moved it. We moved it was like half a mile from where we lived before. So really quick to shoot over here, unload everything, good to go. It's just so much easier when you have like 4 people that move things all day. They have the right equipment. They could just come in, strap, giant, whatever it is, to their dolly, get it down the stairs, like versus me and a friend, like trying to, not drop the thing down the stairs. So anyway, helped move a little bit, but I kept it easy. So, okay, we're getting some questions here. So we'll hit those. All right. So we have Derek Walter saying, do I have any tips on how to get indexed fast? How old's your site, Derek? So my tip is to, I have some anecdotal observations. It sounds like people that have backlinks going to their websites don't usually have to worry about indexing issues. I just published a video the last couple of weeks about the case study that I was talking about. And I published, I think 84, the numbers might be off a tad, 80 articles or so. And they were all indexed within like a day. I didn't do shit. So I think people that are having trouble getting their sites indexed, I think they typically are just publishing content and they're not worrying about backlinks. And this is a thing, maybe some people don't want to build backlinks because they think it's dangerous or more risky. Maybe some people don't like the activities associated with building backlinks. And, whatever other reason. And me personally, I'm not telling you have to build backlinks. I don't care. I don't care if you build backlinks or not build backlinks or anything. I don't care if you build a website or anything. You can do whatever you want. But people that seem to have an issue getting content indexed, typically just publish content and then hope for the best. So if you come from the camp where you don't want to build any backlinks, you may have issues on this and you may have to do some other stuff. What that might be is I don't know. I would say if you can get traffic to that post via other traffic sources aside from Google, that's probably good, and that will probably help it get indexed. If the URL is getting traffic from other sources like social, that could be good. So if you want to take a different route, then maybe that would work. You can go to the Search Console and submit manually the URL that you want to be indexed. But oftentimes, if you go look on the Search Console, you'll see something has been indexed, something has been crawled but not indexed, and there's no specific reason why it's crawled but not indexed, at least not anything that you could really do anything about. So I recorded a podcast episode on the Doug Show. There's a link in the description here. And I actually went and looked at some of the explanation that Google has provided in the past, either through Twitter or sometimes they do office hour sessions. And they mentioned sometimes you'll have a URL indexed, it'll rank, it'll get traffic, and then it drops off the index. And then there could be kind of a rotation of your content where things are indexed, then they drop off, and then they come back on. And essentially the answer that Google gave was that maybe the content wasn't worthy to be on the index, in air quotes. So focus on high quality content and then getting backlinks, which unfortunately most of the stuff, a lot of the answers that I give, it distills down to those two areas, which I think when you just distill it down, it becomes like less interesting. Like high quality content, get good backlinks. Then you won't have to worry about your index. And actually, anyone in the chat, please let me know if you've had trouble indexing stuff. Have you used, I've heard about the rank math instant index feature, and some people said that worked for them, even though they were using it for non-job postings and non-news related content, and they just were getting whatever affiliate review post indexed. Okay. Alois, what's going on? Good to see you. Snorlexer says, can you rank without doing link building? The answer is yes, you can. Some people are complimenting my tattoo. Thanks very much. Jim's marketing code. What's going on? It's been a while since you've been on here. Alo says, some people are attributing the drop in rankings to link building. Any patterns so far? No, I have not. I've actually not even heard people talking about that. Are you talking about the most recent update? And the thing is, unless someone has like a huge amount of data, whatever conclusion that they're drawing, like, oh, if they've heard a couple things that they are trying to identify a pattern, I don't think it's probably useful unless they have a lot of data and they're looking at it scientifically. I think you can find examples where someone built backlinks and then their rankings dropped. I think you could find an equal percentage of people that didn't do any link building, that just published content, and their rankings dropped too. So I haven't seen any patterns. I haven't looked for any patterns, but I doubt those some people that you're talking about have any substance behind their conclusion. Israel says, can a niche run out of keywords? Yes, it definitely can. Deepak says, can you suggest the best monetization strategy for a new website that has less than 1,000 visitors? So Deepak, I would say it depends on what the content is about. So if it's informational based, then display ads. If it is product related, then affiliate marketing. This kind of basic stuff. The real answer is get more fucking traffic. unless there's a reason why you can't get more traffic than that, then get more traffic. Deepak also says, can I sign up for Ezoic before I try AdSense or approve the website from Google AdSense? I'm not 100% sure. I think it is probably good if you are approved by Google, but check the documentation over there on Ezoic. They sponsor me, but I'm not an expert in the ins and outs of Ezoic. Sam says you had fun in a couple odd nights in and around Denver. Yeah, it's good town. Godfrey says, how does one resolve a 403 error? That one I'm not sure about, but if anyone knows, feel free to write in here. And you're giving more details, but here's the deal. This is not like a tech troubleshooting live stream. So just Google this. Just Google that, and I bet you'll find your answer. But I'm not here to answer stuff that you could easily Google, especially stuff that I don't know, because then I would just Google it for you. And I mean, we could do that. We could do that for the whole channel, but I don't think that's what we're here for. Anis, what's going on? Good to see you. Aloy says, what can you do if your niche does not have many keywords, especially high volume, low competition keywords? You can, well, you got two choices. You could either try to find more keywords, and I would also say, like your example here, high volume, low competition keywords, those are hard to find. So I would look for low volume, low competition keywords. Those are probably more common. Look for long tail keywords, not short tail keywords. However, if you are looking for high volume, low competition keywords and you don't find them in your niche, you have two options. Keep working in the niche that you're already in, or find another niche where you have the high volume, low competition. But I think you're looking for something that might not exist. Malwix, what's going on? What's the difference between a niche blog and an authority site? So I've answered this a couple times in the past, so I encourage you to look at maybe the FAQs on Niche Site Project, but generally it depends on who you're talking to. It's typically a marketing phrase. So whoever you're talking to, you should clarify what it is they're talking about. So the definition that some people may like when they see those two, they'll say like a niche blog is small and an authority site is big. Some people might say it's the quality of the content or the size of the website or the length of the content and the size of the website. Maybe they talk about whether or not the community of the niche visits that site on a regular basis, or is it just like a site where people land on it and then they leave quickly and they don't come back week over week. Or they may look at the monetization method and say, oh, well, an authority site needs to have affiliate revenue, it needs to have display ad revenue, and it needs to have digital product revenue. Plus, it needs to have affiliate revenue from digital sources. So it's really important to understand who is using the term and what definition they're operating on. People can adopt different definitions. So my blog is called Niche Site Project. So I say stick with the niche site naming, and it could be a niche authority site, right? Like we mix and match things together. So typically I'm more general and I'll say like a niche site or a niche authority site. And really most people these days are aiming for like an authority site, but you usually start smaller and maybe a little more focused. But generally I want to have a site where it can expand pretty big. You can cover a lot of different products, a lot of different topic areas, and it gives you the most flexibility in the long run. So what's the difference between niche and authority? Maybe nothing. Maybe a niche site is still monetized in 5 different ways, and maybe it has long form content, maybe it has 500 posts or something, but it is a very niche topic. So, like I said, depends on who you're talking to. Deepak says, what do you suggest for content creation? Hire a writer from Upwork or hire a niche website builder agency? So it really depends on your budget. So you're going to end up with higher quality at a lower cost if you hire a freelancer directly. When you work with an agency, typically they're hiring writers, the same writers that you would be hiring, and then they're charging more for the admin, project management, and their profit margin. So an agency is always going to be more expensive for the same level of quality. So it depends on your budget and how much time you want to spend managing your writers and hiring them, dealing with the HR. There's great value in the service that an agency provides, but you pay a lot for it. Jason says, Google Search Console shows terms like Google likes your pages for impressions. Do you add these to the page like new H2s, H3s to expand the post, or break them out to new post, potentially as a cluster? So here's what I do. So there's no one right answer for this, Jason. Good question. If it fits, like I remove my tinfoil hat, which fits very tightly, you know. I put it right up against my skin, help block those rays or whatever. So you take off that tinfoil hat, and then you think about the visitor and what they're searching for. And does it make the most sense to include those new queries that you see potentially are bringing in a little bit of traffic, right? Does it fit on that page, and is it good for the searcher, the visitor that is on that page, knowing that they Googled something similar in that topic area? You can also think about it with like how much content you would have for that subtopic. So if you look at it and you're like, that's a pretty simple thing, a couple hundred words, maybe you include it there. If you look at it and you realize it's a fairly complex term, then maybe it's 2,000 words of content and it needs to fit somewhere else on another post, and then it can be part of a cluster, just like you're talking about. So it's a purely judgment call. Pick something, do it. You can come back in a couple months, 2 to 4 months or something, see what's happening, right? Give it some time. This 2 to 4 months is arbitrary, but basically you can make a decision like, is this performing how I expected, or do I want to test something different? Maybe you found like different terms out there. Okay. Ali says, okay, great question here. So Doug, what would you say was your first major milestone in the blogging career? I think people find this inspirational when they hear about the early days from one of the pros. Okay. So great questions coming in. I'm going to have to answer a little bit faster. So for me, there are two main areas, or two main time periods. And it was within a couple months of each other. So I remember driving in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan towards Traverse City. And I was chatting with my wife because my site, my first affiliate site, hit, I think it had crossed over to $500 for that month. And this was in October of 2013. I had started the site in, say, July of 2013. And just a few months before is when I actually discovered niche sites at all. So we hit $500. I think the month ended up finishing at like 700 or something, but I was like, $500, this is crazy. My goal was to hit $300 per month, and I didn't even have like a time frame. I was just like, if I can make $300 a month from this, it'll be absolutely amazing. And my wife and I were talking like, oh my God, like we hit 500, like it's growing and who knows what can happen. And I was just so excited about like the possibility because it was working. Like all the shit that I was doing, it was working. And then it escalated so fast. So like I said, I think the month finished, maybe it was the September earnings. I can't quite remember, but September, October, like was growing pretty quick. The other milestone was in December of 2013. The site made 6,200 some odd dollars, which was approaching like full-time income at that point. And I was like, holy shit, I'm a genius. I have everything figured out. Turns out, not a genius. And just 1 month after that, my site was penalized because of some of the gray hat link building that we were doing. Private blog networks, for the people that know what that is. And basically like everyone was doing that at that point in time. So I was following along with Spencer Hawes from Niche Pursuits, and like he was using PBNs at the time, and it was just the adopted practice. Things were different then. And we were also using like Web 2.0 blogs and just some really poor link building things that just, it doesn't work now anymore. Or it's a little bit more difficult or a lot not as popular. So I do know people use private blog networks now, but it's not quite as popular, especially in these circles that we have here on YouTube. Okay. Kazi says, I'm not sure how to get the backlink. I am tired of it. I'm not sure what you're asking exactly. Okay. Kem says, after the Google algorithm update, high DA sites get snippets for long tail keywords with their pillar articles, just a heading within the article, while the how-to long keywords are taken over by YouTube videos, at least 5 videos before text articles. Oh, good observation. Good observation for those, Kem. I haven't looked too closely. Malik says, is web hosting or reseller hosting a good niche this year? I don't know. Can you give a 1-minute dig validation on Google? So what I'll tell you about web hosting as an affiliate niche, it's really profitable and it's very competitive because it's so profitable. So I would say if it's like one of your first sites, I would probably not go for this one because it is so competitive and it would take a long time to get traction. Generally, you may be able to get like some smaller traction if you go for some more obscure kind of keywords, but generally web hosting and reseller hosting is really profitable. So you have very experienced people working in that niche. So it's very competitive. So is it good? From a earning standpoint, it's fantastic. From a competition standpoint, it's pretty competitive. And that is the thing that you run into. So earlier, someone asked about like finding high volume, low competition keywords. Well, I mean, if it's high volume, it's probably profitable. And that means there's going to be more competition because people are going to where the money is. So it's just one of the things you have to balance. It's unusual to find low competition, high profit margin. Like that's what everyone would try to find, but the market equals out because people are going where the money is. And if it's low competition and there's money, more people will go there, so there will be more competition. Israel says, keyword research for animal blog tips. I mean, it's the same. It doesn't matter what the niche is. So basically, okay, can you ask a more specific question? Just general tips, find long tail keywords, have a look at your competitors, go do research on maybe Reddit. What questions do people ask? Yeah, so those are some general tips about keyword research. So the specific niche should be pretty agnostic. Kem says, should we review backlinks and disown low quality backlinks? You should probably review your backlinks. And if you do see a large number of bad, spammy backlinks, then yes, you probably should disavow them, especially if you see like all of a sudden a bunch of 301 redirects pointing at your site, or all of a sudden you see a bunch of backlinks that have exact match anchor text, then that is probably something you want to get rid of. That's sort of a negative SEO. 2 says, what do you do when you run out of ideas to write about? Luckily, I've been in an area of sort of keyword research where I don't think I'll ever run out of keywords for these informational topics. But on a different site, and I'll tell you, a niche site project, I have kind of run out of some ideas of what to write about. And I'm leaning, of course, more on the YouTube side here for that kind of content. But, one thing that has kind of gotten me down is I answered a ton of FAQs and published them over on Niche Site Project. And one thing that Google favors these days is to go back and update old content and continually revise it. But in my opinion, now I should go back and revise some of this stuff. And I'm being a little stubborn here, but there's some things, right? You don't need to go back and update and refresh it all the time. It's just like a wasted effort. You're just rewriting the intro and nothing has changed. So what's the point of that? So like I said, I'm a little stubborn about it, but I kind of ran out of some ideas to write about for Niche Site Project. So what would I do? Potentially, it would be a good idea if I went back and then updated some of the older content that does need to be updated because it's out of date for whatever reason. So you can go back and fix, update, and make your content better. Do further research, add FAQs, find out if there's new questions that people are asking about the topic area, and then just expand on what you already have. The other thing is to just try to find kind of shoulder topics that are mostly related to your niche, but maybe it's more on the fringe and it's not directly related, but it's pretty close, and you can cover some of those as well. DDS says, do you have any updates about the May core update? I do not, but I did a couple videos on it, so I suggest you go check out the live stream about that. Kem says, how accurate is the search volume of keyword research tools? It is an estimate based on historical data. So typically the keyword research tools use historical data and then they average it over 6, 12, or 18 months. So that can alter the average that they show. So it's an estimate and gives you generally an idea what the keyword research volume is. It's not exact though. Even if they give you an exact number, like 484 searches per month, it's just an estimate based on historical information. Kem says, does autocomplete in search mean it's worth writing without checking the volume? Typically, yes. Only Interior says, always a pleasure seeing you live. Great, thanks for joining. My question is, does content length really matter? I've seen low word count articles rank like 500 to 700 words. The content does matter. The content length does matter, but it doesn't have to be long. There was a period where really long form content was favored, and then everyone took it too far. And a lot of times these days we're talking about informational content. And basically these days it's best to write content as long as it needs to be and no longer than that. So quick example, one that I give pretty often, and if people have the opportunity to hit the thumbs up That is good. Much appreciated. We're sitting at 16, I think, right now. So it'd be great if we can bump that up a little bit. So let's say someone Googles, what's the boiling temperature of water in Denver? So the answer is pretty quick, right? Like you can say, I think it's like 108 or 208 Fahrenheit, 208 Fahrenheit. And you can explain why it's a little bit lower. It's not 212. I don't know what it is in Celsius. Was that like 94 or something? So anyway, you could explain why it's not the standard sea level boiling point. But even when you do that, it's probably only 500 words. So you don't have to just make it longer than it needs to be and then bore people to death, right? So as long as it needs to be is how long it should be. John says, have you ever heard of a site losing its Google Analytics main site tag? I saw results plummet and checked that the tag was missing. Not sure if moving to Google Analytics 4 caused it, but it was weird. No, I haven't seen it, but has anyone else seen that? Israel says, I have a pet blog. Can I get a follow link? No, thanks, man. No, it's not like we haven't had that happen in a while, but I'm going to say no. And I would assume any of my friends would also tell you no. You got to take a different route. Asking on a chat is a very poor way to do it. Okay, Silo says rank math really emphasizes on the table of contents. Is it worth it? And how do you do it on WordPress? Yeah, I look at table of contents as well. One quick tip is it's really good to start with the table of contents collapsed so it doesn't take up too much space, and then you can show more ads. The other piece that's important here is you could just find a plugin, right? You could just use a plugin. And they're usually free. And Chris says, was my question bad? What was your question? Let's see. Oh, there was one that was blocked in here. Let's see what it was. I don't know why. It's held for review. Okay. So Chris's question, let me find it here. Where did it go? All right, Chris says, you're starting to get traffic on a 1-year-old site, 1,000 uniques a day. Your bounce rate is 86. People get the info, then click off. Any tips to get people to stay longer? You tried videos. So, a couple things, and I can't remember the threshold. How long does someone need to be on your page before it's not considered a bounce? So someone can let me know that. So my number one thing would be, don't worry about it. 86% is kind of high, but who really cares? I think the threshold that Google has is a little more strict than what other people would consider like a bounce. Like you said, people go to the site, they get what they need, and then they go about their business, and that is potentially okay. One thing you can do to sort of like short circuit it is like get people to like click around on your site. So I think that does help the bounce rate. So they don't bounce back to the search. They just go click around your site. So you could try to get people to click around on your site more. But if they're looking for a specific piece of information and then want to go move on with their day, trying to get them to click around more isn't really like the right thing to do exactly. So, you tried video, you could try to get people just to engage more and make the content more interesting so they stay on the page longer. But I think like clicking around on the site is really what you want to do to improve your bounce rate. But I would challenge you and say, do you really need to improve your bounce rate, or is 86% okay? All right. Good questions. Okay. So Sauser says, "Hi Doug, what do you think of buying done for you niche sites? Which service do you recommend? Is it worth it to buy in those these days, or just start from scratch?" Okay. So this is a fun one because I am an affiliate for some of the companies that have done for you sites. Some of those are like niche website builders, there's brand builders, probably a couple others I can't remember. But here's the deal, I don't encourage people to buy done for you sites. I think generally they're kind of bullshit and they're selling a dream to you. And I've done a whole video on this, and for a long time I didn't even promote the done for you sites, but so many people just they cannot help themselves. So they would ask and they're like, I want to buy a done for you site. It's just so fucking rare for one of those to work out. I get so many people that bought a site and they're like, yeah, I bought it and like kind of did a couple things with it and it just didn't work out. And usually there's just such a big markup. And I have many issues with sort of the factory approach of like churning out these sites. And I'll explain it, right? It could have been a business model that I went towards. And I would be so rich that I wouldn't even do these live streams. But to me, it's just not the right kind of business model that I want to work with. And the other thing is like the way that I've done my YouTube channel and my podcast, you can hear I'm talking a little shit about this business model, which other people are doing and make a lot of money. Now, niche website builders, I'm pretty sure most of their business is, it's content and it's link building and other promotion and stuff like that. I don't, to my knowledge, they do done for you sites, but I think they may do a more custom build, which is why I like niche website builders. Some of the other companies will do this, and this is how I would set up such a factory. So I would have like a handful of niches which are pretty good. Let's say 10 of them, right? I could come up with 10 of them. I could probably come up with 30 of them pretty easy. And I could also probably find about 100 or 200 keywords that are low competition, low volume, potentially can rank pretty well for each of those. And I would simply be able to, hop over to a keyword research tool, check out the competition, download what they're ranking for, do some filtering, and have a pretty good set of keywords for each one of those 30 niches. The thing is, I could also have maybe a set of various sets of keywords for each one of the niches. And I could like essentially resell the niche over and over again. So someone mentioned the pet site. I could come up with like a handful of different pet sites. And then let's say it's dog oriented. And then I could come up with, let's say 50 keywords that are in sort of different areas. So this one niche of like dog, I could resell essentially the same kind of site over and over again. You don't know if I'm reusing the keywords on other sites and just reselling it. You have no idea. You would have no clue if I was doing that. And if I was like more ethical, in air quotes, I could just come up with a, not independent, but exclusive keywords for each one. But the fact is, it's still the same niche, and they would end up finding other keywords. But I could focus maybe on like dog crates and for one site, maybe focus on training for another. On another site, maybe we focus on treats. Another one is toys. Another one is food. Another one is like taking your dog to the vet. So, me just making it up on the fly right now, you can see pretty easily that you can come up with a way to come up with different keywords for the same niche and then resell it again and again and again. And by the way, if I have a handful of writers working for me, I can get them to write 20 articles that are good enough. We can use the same template on the sites, and we just have a factory. And it maybe would cost me, I'm just making up numbers here, but it would maybe cost me whatever, $800 per site. All admin, everything put together, custom logo, like a couple little things like that. And it's easy to like duplicate the WordPress site and just like use the same theme, use the same thing over and over again. Have someone draft the content, couple original images, boom. And then you're selling it for many times that. So like I said, you can see how profitable it is. And then I could sell the idea of like, oh, I've done the keyword research for you. There's already content there. Oh, I aged it for you, blah, blah, blah. It's really easy to sell the dream. Now, I do know people that have purchased those sites and they did make it work. But most of the people that I run into, they're like, I bought the site and like now I see, they used Thrive Architect. I had this conversation like last week. They're like, yeah, they use Thrive Architect and I don't want to use it anymore. It's just really hard to use that, blah, blah, blah. So I would say you're probably better off starting a site from scratch. And I think there's a couple use cases where, let's say you've worked on a lot of sites and you kind of got it figured out. You know what process you like. If you went to one of the done for you companies and you said, hey, I want a custom build site and I want you to use this theme and I want you to do this. And here's the keywords I want you to use. That potentially can work out pretty well. So I'm curious from the chat, who has purchased a done for you site? What did you think? Did it work out for you? And I hate to, this is on brand. I'm like, I hate to talk trash about agencies. I didn't use anyone specific, only mentioning positive things. Did I mention anyone specific? But the thing is, I just don't think the done for you sites are a good route for most people most of the time. Okay, I got to go faster here. Solomon says, you love seeing me live. You listen to every podcast. Awesome. Thanks for the support. If I don't have money to buy the best hosting, can I use cheap hosting, then upgrade later? Yes, you certainly can do that. Kem says, high DA websites are starting to rank on long tail keywords. Google started to rank them even though they don't have a specific article. Is this a threat for small niche blogs? Not, it could be, but I don't think that is new. I think that's basically how I've seen the SERPs react since I started. Essentially, there was always this kind of back and forth like that. Philip, what's going on? My site got hit 50%, all the same content. That sucks. Sorry about that. Asim says, what about a macro niche? How to handle different categories content-wise? Like if my website is in home improvement, at the same time, how many categories would I target? Would you like to audit my website? So there's no like specific right way to do it. There's just different options for like a home improvement website or anything, right? I think that was just a generic example. You can go to bigger websites that are already established, and I would look to see how they organize their content and then see if it makes sense for you. And then you can organize it in the same way. You can also think about it of like content clusters and topic clusters, and that can help you make some decisions. Would I like to audit your website? Potentially, you can go to nichesiteproject.com/hire-me. And if that looks like a good fit, you can fill it out and let me know. But as a hobby, the answer is no. I just don't want to like audit people's websites. But if you want to pay me for it, I can take a look at it. Constantine, what's up? Thanks for this live and the videos. I come to realize that starting a blog from scratch and you need a lot of motivation and inspiration. Cool. Thanks for the support. Dan, what's going on? Good to see you. Tony's on. What's up? blah, 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 blah. Okay, we're starting to make some progress here. And I'm going to take a quick rest for my voice. I'm going to roll the clip from Otis right now. I think this one's it. Boom. Word from our sponsor, Odys Global. That's ODYS.global. They're the source for premium age domains with strong branding and powerful backlinks. Featured domain for today is blueguitar.org. It is 22 years old and is obviously about guitars. One cool thing with Otis is you get the little logo there, which is cool. They include that. This one is so old, 22 years old. It has so many backlinks, 928 referring domains. And let's see what it has over on Ahrefs. So cool. We got a domain rating of 31. And you can see here the referring domains shows actually is 1,010, and the do follows are 790. So quite a few. And let's take a quick look at the organic search. Okay, so the site has been around for obviously a long time, but the latest couple iterations, it did get some traffic, and there was not much going on the last couple years here. But it still has all those existing backlinks, some of which are from Wikipedia. We got Wix, Stanford, SourceForge, more Wikipedia, AngelFire. I'm trying to just hit some of the big ones, McMaster.ca, and there's a ton of them with very high domain ratings here. So very interesting. One cool thing, because it is such an old domain, we can go check out the web archive, which it's amazing they actually have snapshots from way back in 2000. Pretty amazing. So I took a couple quick looks over here. So we have one. This one is from, what date is this one? This one's from the end, or sort of the summer of 2020. And you can see, kind of well put together. A lot of times with these snapshots like this, it doesn't get the images for some reason or another. I'm not sure why. But anyway, you can see there's some stuff from 2020, and it was getting maybe a tiny bit of traffic back then per Ahrefs, but not a ton. They cover ukuleles as well, traveling guitars, guitar straps, blah, blah, blah. Tons of different stuff, and you could kind of investigate if you wanted to dive in a little deeper here. So this one actually took a look kind of a little further back, and I guess the way that they were downloading it for the snapshot didn't actually provide any capture. So, and then this one we end up with a 302 redirect crawl issue. So basically, sometimes when you follow the threads over on the Wayback Machine, you end up with captures that aren't really valid. So I would maybe focus in some of these more recent times to see some of the keyword research they did, and that would give you a pretty good heads up. And overall, a domain like this, it's really difficult to recreate the history that this site has, but it's perfect for either affiliate marketing or informational topics. And the informational topics, this is an area where you'll probably never run out of keywords, because there's always different guitars coming out. There's different matches of maybe a specific guitar with a specific pickup, with effects, and maybe an amp. So there's all these different combos, and you can sort of cater to the fact that there are pretty much endless keywords out there. So anyway, worth taking a look. If you do join Otis using my affiliate link, you can get $100 into your account, and I might earn a commission, which I greatly appreciate. So thanks a lot, and let's get back to the show. All right, so let's answer a few more questions here. Quick shout out to a couple things that I work on. Plug my own stuff, may as well. So I have a podcast called The Doug Show. It sounds like there's a lot of listeners here. Talk about this same kind of topics we were chatting about here, affiliate marketing, SEO. There's some random stuff mixed in there too. There's a few mindset episodes, and I do have a couple bonus episodes coming up where I just talk for 10, 15 minutes. I try to keep them kind of short, but typically they're less rambly, number one, but usually there's some sort of conclusion. I had a thought, I had some struggle, and then I came up with maybe not a full resolution, but some conclusion. usually. So there's a few of those too. Typically they are labeled with a DS like 347A. Usually they're an A, and I publish them like another time. The other podcast is called Mile High Fi. Talk about financial independence and personal finance. It's actually picking up a lot of steam. So I would encourage you to check it out. Different topic area, but it's really about like having options. When you peel everything away, it's like having options through financial independence. All right, we'll get through these questions here, and I'm starting to get a little hungry. I'm gonna get some lunch around here. So, John says, any recommendations for a pop-up opt-in plugin? So I actually moved away from those, but I used Opt-in Monster for many years, and it does a pretty good job once you get things set up. I mean, it was great as far as like getting the pop-up to work and the exit intent and all the other kind of stuff. It works very well. I actually moved away from the pop-up situation and just have a link that people can click on, and then they can enter their information. So it's a more, we'll say, clunky kind of implementation. It's not as sexy as a pop-up, but it's simple, and I don't have to pay for a plugin like Opt-in Monster, which I think was like, I don't know, it's like a few $100 a year. And I ended up just going with like an easier solution that I could manage on my own. It's highly unlikely that I'll run into any sort of issues as far as conflicts with a plugin, and I don't have to pay for it. And the people that actually sign up for the list with a less sexy implementation, they want to sign up for the email list. One thing with a pop-up is you do end up with, number one, you get more email subscribers, but you end up with some people that they probably weren't going to sign up and they don't really care and they don't want to be on your email list. So you get more people on your list with a pop-up, but the leads maybe aren't as good. So keep that in mind. But I mean, you will get more email subscribers for sure. Eardopes says, I use affiliate marketing for my Ecamm store as the publisher, and I think it's a great and as a publisher and an overlooked possibility for every web shop. What's my opinion on it? Yeah, I mean, great way to do it. If you could refer people to other products, then it's a great way to do it. And, you know, vice versa. I know people with Ecamm shops that have their own affiliate program, and then they can have affiliates go out and market for them. So in both situations, it works really well. And Tony says, quality articles will stop that too. My average across 450 posts is 24.72. Cool. And I think that is in response to something else, which I'm sure it makes sense to someone else. I forget the question. All right. AVX says, one of my partners' website organic traffic got hit by the May update, but he still gets referral traffic from other sites that were boosted by the update. Basically, the sites ranking above his content contained relevant links that still flow back to his site. He did a lot of real relationship building in the industry. And I think that is key to, you know, build the actual relationships out there. Oh, and Tony says you built all your stuff from scratch. Israel is enjoying the session. Thanks very much. And AVX says, I will buy a done-for-you site as an age domain with existing rankings. So AVX, so here's the thing. If you're buying a site that has existing rankings, everybody stay with me on this, you're just buying a blog that already exists, right? So a done-for-you site versus just a website that has rankings, maybe it's earning money. Like, I think those are potentially two different things. So if you're buying a site with rankings and proven earnings, like, it could be sold as a quote done for you site, but really you're just buying a blog that has traffic. The thing that I think is the most dangerous is when you buy a blog, a done for you site that has no traffic, and they just threw up a website for you and then sold it for a lot. Like I said, it's a really profitable way to do it. And I mean, just when I looked at it, I was like, I'd rather teach people how to do something. Thus, I had the courses, right? And people, you can take the courses or leave them, but like you're learning how to build a site. Where if you buy a done for you site, you just bought like a couple $1,000s of something that potentially has like very little to no intrinsic value, and you don't even have the knowledge to go along with it. Jeremy says, I would not buy a done for you site. It's a shiny object and a distraction. Solomon says, I've created 8 websites, failing and learning, so that you have to make yours, make books of mistakes, learn as you grow. Cool. Jesse says, how much traffic do you think is reasonable before creating a course? It's been hard for me to find affiliates for my products, even though these products cost about $1,000 or around that price for the niche products. Okay. So it depends. I'm not sure, but we could talk through it a little bit. It depends on a couple things. I would say it's probably critical for you to have an email list so that you can market your product. I would refer you to the case study with Christy. She created her own products last year in 2021. She sold a few of those. She didn't do exactly what I would have hoped, and that is to pre-sell the course. But you can get an idea because she does talk about the traffic. She gets about 100 to 120,000 page views per month. And I think her email list at the time when she was starting to promote her product, I want to say it was like 2,500, give or take. I think now she has about 5,000 people on there. And the thing with creating a course is you really want to make sure you pre-sell it. When I did my first, it was an ebook, but it was a course, and later through multiple iterations, it's still the flagship type course. But at first it was an ebook. I had maybe about 1,000 people on my email list. I didn't have very many people on the site. It wasn't pulling in organic traffic. There were a handful of people that would show up on the site. But I created an outline for what I wanted to cover in the course. I created a simple sales page. I pre-sold the course, which was the ebook. I gave a discount when I pre-sold it, and I sold it as like an alpha version, and then a beta version, and then like the full release. I didn't create the course until after I pre-sold it and met my goal, which was to sell 10 of the books, of the ebooks. And I was selling them for like 120 bucks, something like that. I can't quite remember. I think I had multiple tiers that people could sign up for, but basically pre-sold it. Enough people purchased it, so I was like, okay, this is worthwhile. And I thought it was amazing because some people bought an ebook from me that wasn't written yet, and they didn't know me other than my blog. So you don't have to have like a lot of traffic or a big email list. It just needs to be people that are engaged and that are interested in purchasing something. So you maybe have enough traffic right now. And another quick analogy, so that was 2013 when I did that. But I know people that have done a similar thing on social media. They're pitching a course, like using Instagram Reels, and they have built up an audience and there's a lot of people engaged with it, and then they can sell their course via Instagram. Of course, you send people over to your sales page and all that kind of stuff, but they may not have much organic traffic. They may have a very small email list, if anything, because they're all on social media, but there's enough people engaged where they can sell enough that they're happy about it. Okay. And simplified gardening, Tony says bounce rate. So you were talking about bounce rate, which, quality articles will improve. Oh, and the bounce rate is 24.72 across 450 articles. That's pretty amazing. Very good. Okay. And Jeremy does say, echoing what I mentioned, generally, I would not consider a site that's aged and has metrics a done for you site. Yeah, at that point, you're just buying a blog. But I mean, the thing is, like I mentioned before, niche site versus authority site, or like age domain, premium domain, whatever, like it's all the semantics of the sales page and the marketing material. And if it comes down to it, then it's just what they call it. But at the end of the day, like that's just a blog that has traffic. And Jeremy says, can you do a live stream from Left Hand Brewing one day? Maybe. They do have. So for the people that don't know, I'm a big beer fan, and I live very close to a number of like awesome breweries that are like very close. So like Left Hand Brewing is super close. I could potentially do a live stream. I would probably want to check their Wi-Fi and see how it is. I maybe would have to do it from like my mobile device and like use it as a hotspot. Technically that could work. And one thing that they have, so they have like their normal tap room bar area. And then they have like, because of COVID, they built out some outdoor little like booths out there, but they also have like this big AstroTurf like picnic area, and then a bunch of picnic tables, and then an open area where like dogs can come and hang out. And they have like, I think it's like a trailer out in the back, and there's like another whole bar out there. So you can just like hang out outside. So potentially, I haven't done any remote things. It's so easy just to like set up over here and hit go. But maybe someday. At that point, I should get a guest, and probably I'd get like Matt Giovanisi from Money Lab to come join me out there live, and then see what happens. It's like simple. Started with like, hey, yeah, I could just like do it from my mobile device, and like it'll be good enough. But then I'm like, oh, why don't I add another person to the mix? And then all of a sudden I'm like, all right, I got to bring my whole mobile studio out there, have 2 microphones, bring headphones, blah, blah, blah. And then bring a good camera so the video looks really excellent. But anyway, it'd be good to have a Matt out there for that. Okay, I think we answered all the questions. Thanks everyone for hopping on. Thanks again to the sponsors, Ezoic and Otis. You could check out the links in the description here. And if you enjoy these, you can sign up for the email notification. So the thing is, there is a really poor system on YouTube for the notifications. So sometimes the notifications don't go out. Sometimes you don't get the emails till later, but I send a notification before I go live. So you can follow the link there and you can get to it. And then you'll know. Sometimes I even mention what I'm talking about ahead of time. And what else? Yeah, check out the podcast, Doug Show, and check out Mile High Fi. Got a couple last comments here. And so Jeremy says, so there's a chance. Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty fun to do. Oh, and the Art of Shreds says, nice resonator back there. Yeah, I just got, it's a fairly new purchase. It's a National Rezo Rocket. It's all mahogany, and it is awesome. I was not planning on buying it, but I went to this cool shop in Santa Fe. They specialize in high-end acoustics and vintage acoustics, and they rebuild them. It's fantastic. This one's a brand new one. It would have been cool to get, one of the older ones. They didn't have any resonators that were vintage that were like super nice. I think there was actually like a Stella or something like that, but it didn't play that well. But that thing, it is awesome. Thanks, Tony, for hopping on. Sam and Chris as well. So yeah, got some cool episodes coming out on the podcast, so definitely check those out. And we'll catch you next week, probably on, you know what? It won't be on Tuesday.